Hello, and thank you for downloading Witness from the BBC World Service. In November 1969, the first president of Uganda, Edward Mutesa, died in exile in London. He'd been forced to flee his homeland by Milton Obote and died in a small flat in Bermondsey. His friends still dispute the reasons for his death. Sheun Okiwali reports.
It's 1969, and in a flat in the poor South London neighbourhood of Bermondsey, Sir Edward Mutesa, the Kabaka, the ruler of the Kingdom of Buganda and the first president of independent Uganda, talks of his life in exile.
Well, it's very difficult indeed. I am, of course, on public assistance, national assistance, and that is complicated enough, although I have friends who do help me a great deal, and without those friends I don't think really been able to keep my head above water.
You don't get any assistance from the Uganda government, presumably?
Not from the Uganda government, no.
Has there been any question of the British government giving you an allowance?
I have made approaches, but as yet nothing has been suggested, but I hope that the file is still open.
The Kabaka speaking to the BBC's John Simpson. The Kabaka's daughter, Princess Dorothy Nosolo, was at boarding school in England at the time of his exile.
Bermondsey flat. It was very sad for me to see my father there. It wasn't a happy place, you know. The flats, by that area, the way it used to be, it was a bit depressing. He coped and he used to, make light of things to make it look as if it was just a temporary thing, you know. He was always hopeful.
Dubbed King Freddie by the press, the Kabaka had been educated at Cambridge University and had been an officer in the British Grenadier Guards before taking on his duties in Uganda. Back in Britain again, he struggled to find a suitable occupation.
I had to be careful in the choice of the things I wanted to do, because I didn't, in the first place, want to discourage or dismay my people by doing a job which they would have thought was not dignified enough. Certainly to have gone into a business or a big money-making enterprise, I would have then have come short of their expectations of me, that I was taking the opportunity of making money, which I never did, as their ruler.
So at the moment you're doing social work here in Birmingham?
So at the moment I'm doing social work.
What does this involve?
We look after old and young people who, because of problems, their backgrounds, they have become lonely. People who've cut or have had their moorings cut by circumstances, and we try to give them a background of a home.
He wanted to go into a regular job because he had no money.
Joyce Mpanga was a family friend of the Kabaka. She and her husband had also fled to London.
He wanted to go back to his regiment, but the British government feared disturbing the government in Uganda, so they didn't allow him.
As the most prominent Ugandan in exile and an active opponent of the new president Milton Obote, many feared for the Kabaka's life.
We got warnings. People used to write to say, somebody has been sent, be aware, take care. When he wanted to take a regular job, Scotland Yard thought it was dangerous for him. He could not take a job where he would go out every day at the same time, take the same bus route. And in any case, we all, his subject, hoped that he would come back and be a Kabaka in Uganda, because that was his permanent job.
But no one was sure when that would be. Sir Edward Mutesa had been ruler of Buganda, the largest of the kingdoms which made up Uganda, and he was Milton Obote's choice for president of the newly independent country. But in 1966, Prime Minister Obote promoted himself to the presidency and moved to abolish the old kingdoms. He ordered an attack on the Kabaka's palace, led by a new army commander, Idi Amin.
The fires have died down now on the hill over there where the palace buildings stand, and the shooting seems to have stopped. Unless you actually try to get up to the palace, and then you find roadblocks of overturned lorries and trees, and above the thunder you can quite often hear the occasional shot. There's still very much a feeling of tension and unrest here, and it remains to be seen whether the news of the eventual fate of the Kabaka is going to fan the flames once again.
The Kabaka escaped over the palace wall and began his journey into exile.
He walked from Kampala to Rwanda to Burundi, from where he flew to London. He was lost, and he had no money. He was living at the mercy of his friends. Those friends were constant friends, and they were very good friends to him.
He settled in London, given use of a flat by Richard Cargom, an old friend from the British Army. There, on the 21st of November 1969, the Kabaka had been discussing arrangements for the official celebration of his 45th birthday. His friend, bodyguard and assistant, Jehoash Katende, was cleaning up after supper. Joyce Mpanga recalls what happened next.
That evening, Friday, while Katende was washing the dishes, the Kabaka collapses. He rings his doctor. The doctor is not there. So he rings my husband and says, what do I do? Because his doctor is not, being a weekend, doctor had gone. So my late husband said, no, ring Richard Cargom because he's nearer you than we are. And Richard brought his doctor. And the doctor said by the time he got there, he was already dead.
The suspicion among his friends was that someone had poisoned the Kabaka. His autopsy revealed a staggering level of alcohol in his blood. The inquest ruled that there had been no suspicious circumstances. The explanation was the Kabaka was an alcoholic, but his friends were resolute that this was not the case.
British justice, they said the Kabaka died from alcoholic poisoning, but he had become almost a teetotaler. He used to drink just white wine, not anything else. And Wednesday when he was there, he was drinking a little. Thursday, Richard Cargom had a dinner for him. They all said, but when he was here, he didn't look drunk. That was Thursday. How did he die? We believe he was poisoned. And we have reasons to think he was poisoned. The Uganda government was involved. As long as he lived, he was a threat to Uganda government.
The Kabaka's body remained in London for 2 years before it was returned to Uganda in 1971, when Obote's successor, Idi Amin, granted the Kabaka a state funeral. And among the tens of thousands of mourners were people from Bermondsey who'd come to see King Freddie laid to rest.
That edition of Witness was presented by Sheun Okiwole. The producer was Alex Last. For details of our complete range of downloads and our terms of use, go to bbcworldservice.com/podcasts.